Hey, what's up? This is Antiques here. So recently I was taking a look at some of the new NMD clothing and accessories, and I might feature those newer things in a future video. But for this video, I came across, right at the bottom of the Adidas page, there are a couple of the older things that were on sale. So I found myself this. So I know it's kind of hard to see right now, but this, believe it or not, is a sort of mini duffel bag type thing, which I picked up on the basis that on the website, the pictures of this were incredibly sort of vague, so it was very hard to see like what kind of size it was, what it really looked like, what this sort of zip thing was doing in the middle of the strap, all that kind of thing. So I thought I'll buy one, I'll get it shipped here, and then I can check out exactly what it is. So from memory, this retailed at sort of 50 quid or so, which is maybe $60, $65. I think I got it for more like £33, which is maybe like $40, that kind of amount. So not too terrible, not dissimilar pricing to the Patagonia Atom Sling. And it's a little bit bigger than that as well. In fact, it is bigger than I expected. The product pictures didn't really give much of a sense of scale of this. So I was kind of under the impression that this was like a mini side bag type thing, so it was like super small, like this kind of size. But no, it is actually a sort of like maybe 3/4 half size duffel bag. So it is actually quite big. I think the main thing that threw me off was because this zip here, which is on the strap, is incredibly chunky. It's possibly the largest, fattest zip I've ever seen in my life. So I think I kind of saw that on the strap and was a bit like, oh, I guess the strap is quite small and quite dainty. So then the rest of the bag is also quite small. But no, there are two main pockets on this bag. The first of which is accessible through this zip on the top here, which reveals a little kind of compartment which takes up the whole top part of the bag. And then the main part is accessible through two zips, one of them which goes around the circumference of the top of the bag, and another which goes lengthways down the bag also. On the inside of the bag, there's one little unsecured mesh pocket and one bigger mesh pocket which is zipped and runs lengthways down the inside of your bag. So if you've got anything particularly valuable that you want to keep safe, maybe some change or something, I don't know, then you can stick it in there and that's no problem at all. There's just about enough kind of pockets and features to be okay in this. I think if you were missing those interior pockets, for example, I think this would be a little bit rubbish. But I think those extra little pockets just give it just enough functionality so that you can separate all the different things that you want easily enough. The main material of this bag is 3 layered, so on the outside there's this kind of slightly crinkly finish material, and then there's a central layer that I can feel which is a bit thicker, and then there's the inner layer as well. So hopefully this has a little bit of resilience, and on the bottom as well it's a little bit more reinforced, so that part is quite thick. So hopefully you won't have too many problems falling apart, or at least if the outside does rip, it's not going to rip through the whole bag because there's another 2 layers there. And although your typical Adidas 3 stripes branding is absent from this bag, there is printed on literally the brand with the 3 stripes in a couple of different languages. So there's some kind of tonal branding going on there. The outside is probably splash proof, but I wouldn't recommend submersing this in water or anything. It doesn't look particularly resilient, but nonetheless I think for your old splash you'll be okay. It's not going to soak straight through. But to be honest, the strap of this bag was really what encouraged me to buy it, because I was curious as to what exactly does this zip do? Like, what is it for? I was kind of imagining that it would be able to unzip lengthways and there'd be like a really long, thin pocket going through the length of the strap, but that is not the case. The whole strap actually separates in two when you undo the zip. So you can turn it from a messenger style strap or hanging it off the shoulder into a little backpack. Which I think is quite a cool little feature. I've not seen that in a bag before, so I think that's quite an interesting inclusion, something that I think is quite cool. Often with the duffel bag you will have those like 2 side straps and a big main one as well, whereas this one strap kind of does the work of all 3 of those. So I think that's quite an interesting little touch. I think having the metal edges of the zip visible are quite cool when it's kind of split up like that. I was slightly concerned that it would damage clothes because of that metal edge, but I think because the zip is so big, there aren't really any sharp edges on it, it's all quite blunt, so hopefully that kind of thing isn't going to be an issue. If you like the look of having that split zip, I guess you could also wear this as a messenger bag, but either undo the strap or kind of half undo it, just so you have that sort of like, oh look, it's a zip but it's undone kind of thing going on. I don't think it will really affect the performance of the strap too much, so yeah, if that's a look that you're down with, then by all means go for that as well. So although there's a lot to like about this bag, it does have the odd downside as well. I think the shape is perhaps something that not everyone is going to like, just because it doesn't really have that much structure to it, because it is that circular duffel bag type shape, but it's also quite small. So if you're planning on using it as a standard backpack for carrying it around all day, or like a messenger bag for example, you might not find it quite as comfortable as either of those things. So perhaps for that it's not really the best use. I think it's potentially a slightly awkward size as well, in that, as I say, I originally thought this would be a kind of side bag type size, like really quite small, but it's much larger than that. It's too big really to use as a side bag. But it's not quite big enough for a proper duffel bag, you know, to fill with stuff for a week-long trip or a couple of days or whatever. It's just kind of in the middle, so it's quite big, quite bulky, but doesn't quite have the carrying capacity of something bigger. I also feel that, like a lot of mainline Adidas things, this does suffer from over-branding. Even though it is tonal, like everything is black, and it doesn't literally say Adidas or have the Adidas logo or whatever, I just think having all of that text on it is perhaps a little bit too much for me personally. If you don't have a problem with the branding though, that's totally cool. I do like that global sort of inclusive message that it brings by having all those different languages together in the same font and written in the same way. I think as an alternative, what could have been quite cool is if they had like a couple of different versions of this bag that had different text in different languages on it, so it was just a single line instead of 4, and then people could kind of pick a language that they had an affinity with or they thought was cool, for example. So you could just have like Japanese text along the bottom, or French, or German, or English, or whatever. So in conclusion, I do think that this is a decent bag, particularly if you can get it a little bit under full price depending on your needs. Is it going to be your main messenger bag or your main backpack? Probably not. Are you going to sling this on when you're out trapping with your boys in the streets for the day? Again, probably not, just because it's a little bit too big to be used as a side bag. But would it make a really good overnight bag, or going on a short trip somewhere where you want to take quite a few things with you, but you don't want to bring a suitcase or a full-size duffel bag? Then yeah, definitely. And I think it does stay true to a techwear aesthetic as well. It's all black, it's got quite a lot of different little functionality type bits. It's got that strap that you can split between 2 different ways, which I think is quite innovative and I think it's really cool. Definitely something that Adidas I think should have shouted about more, because I do think it's a very interesting concept, as well as having a few different pockets and ways to access it and all that kind of thing. So that has been it on this Adidas NMD bag. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think of this one. It is a little bit kind of odd, bit unusual. I hadn't quite seen anything like this before, but hopefully you guys like it, and of course if you don't, feel free to leave an angry comment. If you do enjoy the video though, do be sure to leave it a like. I really do appreciate it. And that is everything, so I will catch you guys in the next video. Shout out to Simon, who masturbated to the end of the last video. I'm glad you got some sexual gratification out of that, and of course if you want to be sexually gratified by some more of my videos, then you can click those links up there and see those. And if you haven't subscribed already but you're just thinking about doing so, then you can hit that button there and you can do that.